specialist showcase has begun.
This was terrible. That just sounds like a dumb
movie. I'm sure there's plenty of podcasts. So funny.
The following is a fan-off production.
They call me Alice in Wonderland. They try to lure me with a man. Go, oh, what do you know? Is that a rabbit hole? Oh, I gotta see where we go. So off with my head, fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart, fall apart.
What's up, all you stars and studs? This is former WWE Diva and current First Lady of Ring of Honor, Maria Kanellis, and I am here with my co-host and lover and friend and traveling partner and road dog and sometimes my punching bag.
Hey.
Ring of Honor star Michael Bennett.
Hi.
Hi.
And my new moniker for this week, which is
You're
Mr.
starting with that? Really?
I have a new moniker.
What's the
Yes.
first thing you're coming out with?
I need to introduce myself.
Oh, okay.
And so
your moniker.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Your stream's about to freeze. Boom.
Why? Why is that your new moniker?
Well, you see, it seems as though, whether it's with a Ring of Honor show or a National Pro Wrestling show, that the stream just doesn't like me. And maybe the stream is a internet wrestling fan, and so that's what they do. They just freeze.
Did you know, though, it froze on my tush?
Well, that's perfect.
People were very pleased with the freezing on my tush.
I would be happy too if it froze. I think my eyesight freezes on your tush.
I think that happens sometimes.
That's okay. That dress you were wearing was quite revealing. So
it was not revealing. It was. It had 3/4 sleeves on it, and
it was revealing of your butt.
My tush was partially hanging out, but the rest of me was covered. It's kind of like the whole, you can't wear eyeliner and lipstick. Well, see, you can't show your tatas and your tush at the same time, or else you become a hoochie mama. So,
well, good. I'm glad you went with the tush. I like the tush. The tush is my favorite.
You are definitely a butt guy.
I am an ass man.
You are, but you also like faces. If someone has a bad face, forget about it. If they have bad skin, look the other way. Doesn't matter. Victoria's Secret model body, and then
it's got to be a good
whole face. Not going to work for you.
It's got to be a nice face. I like a pretty girl. I don't care if your body looks like you just competed in the Summer Olympics and your butt is very big and perfect. You need to have a pretty face. I'm sorry. Call me old fashioned, brother. But I like a nice butt and a pretty face. I'm not picky. That's all I ask for, really. That's all a brother asks for out of life is a bum and a face, not a butt face.
No, no butt faces?
No butt face.
Yeah?
No bum faces, but just a good old tush and a very nice-looking face.
Yeah. Obviously, you like the old tush. You do.
I do. I like... I do. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that like a good butt.
There are a lot of people that like a good butt. That's why there's so many songs about butts.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't hear, I like big boobs and I can't not lie. Like, that's not a song.
What's the song about tig old bitties? That's a song. So people do like big old boobies and tig old bitties.
Real or fake?
Ying Ying, the Ying Ying twins. Ying Ying. That sounds like I'm starting up like a moped or something. Ying Ying, the Ying Ying. The Ying Yang twins sing about big old boobs.
Boobs. So real or fake?
God, definitely real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want like 2 basketballs coming at me. It just seems like if a girl was to fall face first and she pops back up, that's just not right. She should fall face first and lay there. She shouldn't fall and bounce back up like a spring toy or like a Jack in the Box.
Are you pushing this girl down to check? Like,
No. I'm just saying in general. If I which I'm not because I'm happily in a relationship with a lovely lady, but if I was and say I was at a bar or my local establishment, and a lady was to slip and fall face forward, and she would bounce right back up, that's just strange to me.
That is strange. It's like a bouncy ball.
That's what I'm assuming women with fake boobies do.
Yeah.
They just hit the ground and bounce right back up like a.
So a little known fact for all of our listeners at home: we actually check out women together sometimes.
Do cheerleaders in particular at football.
Cheerleaders, yes. Well, I check them out and then tell you to, but you usually miss them. You don't really pay attention too much. And if we are at some kind of convention and there's a bunch of
porn
X-rated women there, I have to inform you about how big their boobs are. But then, like, the boobs just take over.
Yeah, like we did that. We did the Rock and Shock convention. Was it Rock and Shock? No. It was Super Mega Fest in Massachusetts, Framingham, and literally the whole row we were in was just Hoochie Mama Row. Like it was porn star lane, and there were boobs to the left of me and boobs to the right of me. It's like that song, "Here I am, stuck in the middle of boobs." There was that one girl to our left who was like, she looked like she had two beach balls attached to her sternum. Like it was massive. And it wasn't even like I was looking. I would be like, "Oh, I'm stretching. Let me turn left." Holy shit.
Sure.
What? What? And then the girl directly to the right of us was signing autographs, but for a special deal and a special price, she would take her clothes off and take her picture with you. So it would be like, "Oh, stretch to my left, holy beach balls," and then, "Oh, stretch to my right, naked chick." Okay, this is wonderful.
Yeah, she was wearing a bikini, but it wasn't much of a bikini. And then we had what's his face with a very large penis. What is his name?
Whoa! Did you see?
No, I did. I mean, I've seen online before,
Whoa.
but
Naughty.
It's just one of those things that you have to know. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, he was there, and it was like his handshake wasn't a handshake; it was a butt grab. Like,
yeah, but it was like,
"Hey, how are you?" Butt grab.
His hand would be like you just stuck your hand in slime from Ghostbusters, you know? Like you fell into ooze or something. That's just how disgusting it is.
Yeah.
You know? And then not only that, but he was sleeping most of the time.
He was.
Maybe from all the sex.
The sex.
The sex.
Not just sex. The sex.
All the Ron Jeremy, the sex. He has lots of the sex. I heard he's redeemed himself, though. But he's still, his handshake is a butt shake. It's not redeemed himself. He has came to God, and God told him it's okay to touch bums. Maybe that's just like, that's his beliefs. Maybe that's part of his religion. Because apparently you can just say it's part of your religion now, and it's your beliefs, and people can't accuse you of anything. So maybe that's just part of his religion, I have my beliefs, and that's to grab every good-looking woman's butt. That's how I say hi. If you're not good-looking, I don't say hi that way. But if you have a nice butt, that's how I say hi. Maybe that's what it is. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it could be. Is it most of, the way people interpret religion, just whatever came out at that very moment?
Yeah, you just hide behind it. You say, "Oh, no, it's part of my beliefs." And then people get mad at you, and you're like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't say that." No, why are you attacking me? It's part of my beliefs. So don't attack Ron Jeremy. He grew up in porn religion. So when he would go and stand in front of whoever his Jesus was, he would say, Jesus would look down at him and say, "My son, Mr. Jeremy, it is okay if you see a good-looking woman to grab their bum. This is what we do." And Ron Jeremy would say, "Are you sure that's okay?" And he'd say, "Yes. It is our belief that you can touch butt." So I'm going to join that religion, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm going to be a born-again.
A born-again porn religion.
Born-again porn religion. I cannot wait.
No, I don't
Would you-
think. I don't think you would feel good about yourself doing that. You have too much of a conscience.
Well, I would hide behind my beliefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend, you were definitely stating the facts of your opinions about.
Well, we had an extremely long weekend of traveling, so
We did.
pardon
It
me.
was a fun weekend, though.
It was very fun.
We went to the premiere of Army of the Damned.
Which was awesome.
A lot of the cast was there, and for the first time, I realized Sully Erna from Godsmack was throwing popcorn at me, and he's
Lots
from
of fun.
Godsmack, and I love his music, but I don't look at people like that. Like, hey, you're in
Is
a
that
band.
the first time you realized that Sully Erna was in Godsmack?
No, I knew he was in Godsmack, but like, it wasn't a big deal to me because for me, he's just cool Sully Erna. He's not like, oh my God, you're
Rock
a
star.
rock star. And
So let me
amazing.
get this straight. So for the first time this weekend, it actually clicked to you that Sully Erna is an international rock star who has sold millions and millions of records,
Yes, because I don't look at people like that.
and that he's a certified badass.
He was a badass in that movie. If you
He
haven't
is.
checked out Army of the Damned, check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes.
And the director, Tommy DeNucci, was on this podcast, episode Trace, I believe. So go check it out.
Yeah. And we have a caller. And Mike, I'm going to let you do the introduction.
Is this our guest?
It's our guest.
All right. Well, I hope this is our guest. It's hard to tell sometimes because we're sitting here in the studio. Ha ha ha. But the owner of Chikara Pro Wrestling, Mike Quackenbush himself, are you there?
Indeed, I am. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you doing this.
I appreciate you speaking to me.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, we just want to thank you for this weekend, National Pro Wrestling Day. We had a absolute blast, and it was for a great cause. I think we should probably kick off this interview by maybe explaining to everyone what National Pro Wrestling Day was and what it meant to you and what the cause was, and let's keep the good vibes of National Pro Wrestling Day going.
Right on. I think, you summed it up very nicely, Mike. National Pro Wrestling Day this year was very much an expression of wrestling's ability to have a positive influence on someone. And the people that we ended up helping are those that are aided by the work of the Against Malaria Foundation, which is one of a few charities that do this type of work in malarious parts of the world, in developing nations where malaria is still a real issue. Like, for example, in Africa, where 3,000 children die every day from malaria, they distribute insecticide-treated bed nets that protect people while they sleep from mosquito bites. And while that seems like a very simple thing, I think, to us, because we don't live in fear of malaria, generally speaking,
Right.
that's a very serious thing. And we were able to, through the aid of pro wrestling fans worldwide, we were able to raise just shy now of $8,000 through National Pro Wrestling Day. And people are still donating now, even though the event's been over for days, which is really terrific because I think we get to talk a little bit about what it means to exert your positive power as a professional wrestler. And this is real proof of it. Like, the proof is in the real difference the Against Malaria Foundation is able to make for these people. So that leaves me feeling very charged up. I feel like a real positive feeling about the way things went.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, honestly, the biggest thing I took away from this was, like you said, we had talked earlier about like the positives and using the power of the positivity that we have as performers to present it to the people who are not only watching, but also the people who can potentially benefit from it. And it's kind of funny that you mention it because I remember one of the first times when I first met you. I think it was not the first time I met you, but one of the first times I worked for you was at the King of Trios show. And one thing that you said to me that always stuck in my head was wrestling is supposed to be fun. And that's how we should look at it. I love your point of view on how wrestling is supposed to be. If you could maybe share with our listeners who maybe haven't had the chance to listen to one of your great speeches before a show, what you believe pro wrestling is, or what pro wrestling means to you.
Sure. And thank you for those kind words, Mike.
Oh, absolutely.
I do believe that pro wrestling should be fun, and that it should be made for everyone. And what I mean by that, it's a very broad statement, is this, that it should not insult your intelligence when you watch it. It should not embarrass you. You should feel as comfortable watching it with your parents as you would one day watching it with your children. So, as it relates to that, I always try to curate the type of wrestling that I make such that anyone can enjoy it. It doesn't exclude anyone. And it speaks a little bit to what I loved about professional wrestling, in that I very much like the idea of experiencing wrestling in a collective setting, like in a social setting, as opposed to an isolated experience where I imagine, and I mean, I know this to be the case, for example, there are people that will watch a wrestling pay-per-view like alone on a computer screen. And maybe that's the only way that they can experience it. But if you had the opportunity to be surrounded by other people that loved what you love, that celebrate the same art form that you're enamored of, that feeling is really hard to beat. And to be able to share that with someone who's important to you personally, like a parent or your child or a loved one or a friend, free of embarrassment or free of feeling self-conscious, which I think is something all wrestling fans have felt. At some point, right, we all got involved because we're pro wrestling fans. You are, Mike. You are, Maria. I am. But at some point, you felt persecuted for loving wrestling. And that's a horrible thing. Like, who wants to feel ostracized because I love this weird thing?
Right.
No, I would so much rather create an environment where we celebrate this wonderful thing together. And everybody is totally okay. Everybody's totally accepting of that. And that's just part of the magic of pro wrestling. It can be tough to guarantee that for someone, but when everybody works together really tirelessly toward that goal, you can do it. And when it happens, it's magic.
Right.
I just have to say, I absolutely love the crowds at your shows.
Mm-hmm.
They're so wonderful, and they're so diverse, and there's kids, and there's hipsters, and there's nerds, and there's fun people, and there's there's hardcore wrestling fans, and I absolutely love the group of people that come to these shows. They really love this business. They're there to have a good time, and no one is there like criticizing anybody else. It's just about being there and being all together and chanting and having a good time, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm really enamored of that sense of community that the fans have developed. When I hear stories, there's just one story I heard, for example, that we have a crew of very dedicated fans that often show up far before the doors open. And sometimes they make food and share it with the other people waiting in line to get in. Like, that type of communal thing that develops is, it really speaks to why I want to make professional wrestling and why the art form speaks to me. Because as a fan, I used to love the experiences when the one guy in my neighborhood that had the pay-per-view box would order the Royal Rumble, and everybody would come over, and you knew it was your job to bring the pizza, and this guy would bring the soda, and this guy brought the ice cream, and you'd show up and have a great time. And even people that maybe away from wrestling you wouldn't socialize with, in that setting, we're all friends. We all love this same weird niche art form together, and it's very accepting. And if I can help other people have that same type of fun that made me fall in love with pro wrestling, then I feel like I'm giving back in the right kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I think, like I said, one of the first times I'd worked for you was at the King of Trios event. And that, like, those 3 days that I was there is hands down, and I tell Maria this all the time, one of, if not my most favorite moment in professional wrestling that weekend, because it felt it felt like an event. We would meet fans before the show, these fans of Chikara, and they would come up to us and tell us, like, this is our WrestleMania. Like, we've been waiting all year for the King of Trios tournament. And it just felt it felt like such a large family in Easton, Pennsylvania. And it was so great to be a part of it. And maybe if you could, for maybe the listeners who aren't as familiar with Chikara as me and Maria are, maybe you could give a brief history of what Chikara is, and maybe lead into one of the biggest events that you guys have too, like what is the King of Trios? Maybe like a brief history.
And are you doing it again this year? That's what I want to know. Because everything's been a little crazy and up in the air, and I know that you got a show coming up here in May, so I want to know, are you doing it again?
Well, the whole season, and this is a very strange year because we're coming out of a very out-of-the-box story, and we're just kind of setting all the pieces up for what 2014 is going to look like for us. And I want to say this because I don't know if the two of you really appreciate this, but part of the reason King of Trios and a lot of the things we do cast a much larger shadow than our very modest operation should warrant is because of folks just like the two of you. You come in and you lend your presence, your star power, your voice to what we do, and it helps make us seem a whole lot bigger because at heart, we're a very small bootstrapped operation that just happens to cast a long shadow. And there are enough people out there that kind of play along with it that some people are kind of taken in by it. But it's great that folks, and think about the body of experience that the two of you have had, come into our universe and are so willing to engage and say, we get this, we want to have fun, and we want to play here. Because as I'm sure you can imagine, there have been occasions when there are people that come into our universe and say, what the heck is this? Whatever this flavor of wrestling is that you're making, I want none of it. They look around the locker room, they see the masks, they see the weird sense of humor that kind of comes with what we do. It's a very strange aesthetic, and I can see it on their faces immediately. It's like, why did I agree to come to this? And to me, Chikara is very much an extrapolation of all the kinds of things I love. I grew up reading comic books. So, as I heard you guys actually talking about a little bit on your last episode, to me, the idea of superheroics and good versus evil, guys in outlandish costumes that are capable of doing feats that ordinary humans are not able to do, those types of analogies between comic books and wrestling are very strong in my imagination. Right. So that really influences a lot of what we do. But so too did like my love of shows like Lost, for example. I love the idea that if I wanted to go back and rewatch the 6 seasons of Lost, there's all these tiny narrative Easter eggs hidden for me to discover and say, wow, this doesn't pay off for 2 more years, but that's why this skeleton is here. Those things are very compelling to me as a storyteller. And what I'm really lucky enough to do at Chikara is I have this wonderful crew of people. I'm so very fortunate that they believe in our vision for pro wrestling, and they want to see it expressed to its maximum, and they never put their personal desires or egos ahead of that. And especially with like the incredible wide range of places that the two of you travel, you know what that's like when you're in a locker room where it's a bunch of people that say, my interests come first. And I'm so lucky in that I've got this wonderful crew of team players that say, we're all going to succeed together.
Yeah, and you've worked with such incredible talent. I mean, you've had tons of people go through there, and then some people have been with you forever, like Hollow Wicked, which Mike just wrestled. Wasn't he one of your originals?
Right, he's one of the very first class of guys I ever trained. He's been with me since day one all the way through. So,
and where did you come up with these names? The names of the guys and the different characters are just amazing. Were they all comic book inspired, or did they come from Japanese backgrounds, or where did you come up with these ideas?
They sort of come from all over. There's not maybe just one thing, but this is a good rule of thumb when we're talking about something. This usually happens on a road trip. You're trapped in a car for way too long, and the car smells of protein shakes, farts, and defeat. we're traveling along and an idea will come up, and somebody adds to it, and somebody adds to it, and we all start laughing, and we start to think of, wouldn't it be funny if this happened next? And what if you took this weird character and put them in this scenario? And would this be funny? And if we can keep finding something new that entertains us, we find another element of joy in this otherwise bizarre, esoteric character. And I want to speak a little bit to this because so many people had remarked to me, Maria, that during the six-man tag between the Baltic Siege and the Block Party, you had this look that you were just amused by everything that was going on in the ring as these six very weird characters were in the ring wrestling. Those are wildly esoteric characters, right? Like,
yes.
Those are the kind of things you'd sit down with like a marketing executive and you would say, I have no idea how to sell these six characters. I don't know what on earth to do with them. And yet, and you can imagine as a performer, if you're not of that sensibility and somebody presented that idea to you, you could come at it from one of two ways. One of them is a position of fear. You could say, I don't think I can make this work. I don't know how to be this character. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. You could come at it from that direction. Or you come at it from a position of power and you say, I'm going to make this into something that works. I'm going to make this into something that I can be happy with. I'm going to fully inhabit this weird character, whatever it might be. I'm going to be a weird Eastern European tree humanoid, even though that might summon nothing in your imagination. And when you come at those things from a position of power, instead of the position of fear, you can breathe life into the weirdest things. And those six dudes are such a great testament to that, because when someone says the phrase, the proletariat poor of Moldova, most people do not think of anything. And yet, here's a guy who inhabits that so fully, you say, I totally understand what this character is. And it's beautiful to see a performer who's fearless about that. Like, to me, that's one of the most exciting things. When it goes from, this is something we laughed about for 8 hours on a car trip, to, there is somebody fearlessly making it real in the ring, that really inspires me.
It's amazing. I've worked with some actors in the past that, they'll completely embody whatever that is, whether it's scary or if it's a cool guy or if it's a pothead or if it's a drunken. And you watch these people turn into these characters and you believe. And it's that suspension of disbelief that I think has always been what has attracted me to wrestling. And I think that that's what attracts so much of the crowd. And I had that this past weekend. I had that where I was watching this, and to me, that's what they were. Each one of those guys, whatever they were trying to portray, that is what they were. It didn't matter that if it was crazy or different or weird or something I've never seen before. That is what they were. And that's just an art form to me, and I appreciate it. So it was exciting.
It makes, to me, what it makes like you told me when I first worked for you, pro wrestling is supposed to be fun, and that makes it fun. I think far too often, because I know from experience, we take ourselves too seriously, and we often forget what it is we are doing and what it is we are supposed to do, and that is to portray this character or this person onto these people who are watching, that we are larger than life, that we are not your normal person, that we are superhero-esque, to put it that way. And for me, one of my most favorite things about working for Chikara was the fact that you could go do that. You could not only, make people believe everything you were doing in the ring as goofy or outlandish or completely off the wall as it may seem, but because I feel like the Chikara fans give you that freedom, and Chikara Locker Room gives you that freedom to say, hey, we're going to go do this, and yeah, it might be crazy and it might be goofy, and maybe a very serious wrestling fan may not buy into it, but if we go in at 100%, that it may work or it may not, but it's going to be fun. And that's the kind of, the emotion we're going to try to tell these people. And that's what I love so much about being there. And on National Pro Wrestling Day, the one thing that I have to love, that I do have to ask you, is the DeLorean made an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was by far one of the best things I have ever seen. I don't even know if I have a question. I just wanted the fans who listen to this know that at the end of the show that the DeLorean came out and Archibald Peck, right? That he came out and saved the day, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. That's I needed to say that.
Well, thanks. And what you said speaks to that. It's about going all in. If I want you to be complicit in the type of fiction that we make, I have to show you that I'm willing to go all the way. If I want you to come on this 3-year odyssey with a character that has traveled back and forth in time, and he needs to show up at a specific point to save the day, I've got to go all in to make that happen. Right. You know, and the DeLorean is the exact expression of that. It's the proof of what we believe. If we want you to be part of this type of universe, then we've got to go that extra mile. Otherwise, I think we're failing the promise that we make to our customers. And the Chikara fans, like you said, Maria, they're so unique in that it's almost not like they suspend their disbelief. They are part of the fiction themselves.
Yeah.
And this is something that happened recently in the 13th season of Chikara that to me is very, very exciting, and it makes me very proud of our fans. As part of our story, where Chikara was owned by an evil conglomerate, our fans had to embark on a day-long citywide scavenger hunt across Philadelphia to uncover incriminating documents they had hidden. And at the end of the scavenger hunt, when they successfully unlocked a storage locker and found this folder filled with their nefarious plans to build a radical extremist compound over top of the Palmer Center in Easton, it was literally in a fan's hand. A fan had to decide, do I surrender this to the evil overlords, or do I hand this over to someone else in the hope that it will bring Chikara back? And there was a fan who really did make that decision. They were active in the fictional narrative. And I think going forward, people will demand more experiences like that from their entertainment. They want to be part of the universe. They want to play. They don't want to just sit and watch it happen on a flat screen. Wrestling can reach right out and touch you in the front row. It will literally be you on the street holding the documents in your hand. It will happen right in front of your eyes. A DeLorean will appear out of the smoke, and a time traveler will climb out to save the day. And granted, that of course speaks to some of the things I love about being in a fictional space. And it's not for everybody. There are certainly people that say that is not what I want from my wrestling experience. And that's okay, because there's so many awesome flavors of wrestling to go out there and taste. You don't have to like every one of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think actually that kind of brings me to my next question, which I'm actually really interested to find out. Like you said, you feel like wrestling is kind of, or needs to, or you think it should go in a direction where it can actually reach out and touch you, and these fans can be part of the narrative and the fiction and whatnot. And I feel like as of late, especially in maybe say like WWE, where the fans are starting to get involved and saying, no, we don't want these guys. We want, Daniel Bryan. We want CM Punk. We want so-and-so. What, in your opinion, what do you feel like is the state of professional wrestling as a whole? I know that a lot of people are very doom and gloom on it, and then other people are like, well, we have, WWE's doing record numbers, and TNA's bringing in a lot of good guys, and Ring of Honor's doing this, and now Chikara's back in here. And so I feel like there's two opposite ends of the spectrum. There's the doom and gloom of pro wrestling, and then there's the, no, wrestling's really good right now. What do you kind of see as the state or the future of pro wrestling?
Well, from the business side of things, especially with the upcoming launch of the WWE Network, their stock continues to rise, all that type of stuff, you'd be hard-pressed to argue against the numbers. But that's not the only metric by which, you can examine the state of the business. There's other things as well. So you might be able to say, well, if the metric I want to examine here is creative growth, you might look at whether it's WWE or TNA or whatever your flavor of choice might be, and not that you're limited to only one flavor of wrestling, but you might feel very differently. The business might seem like, wow, the numbers are up, but maybe you feel like advancing the art form is down. Maybe right now there's an increasingly jaded fan base out there that feels that they're not being catered to. So it's hard, I think, to generalize when there's so many different metrics. And you know this from having been on the independents, and of course you've got other perspectives as well. Not just limited to the independents. Depending on where you are, different metrics matter more. There are some people that are only interested in the dollars and cents of professional wrestling. And to me, I'm well past the point of trying to think about, let's do a financial analysis of this, that, and the other thing, because if I did that where I'm at in Chikara, I would have gotten out of the business years ago. Financially, what I do makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
But to me, pro wrestling is an art form. It's performance art. And because I'm intrigued to see the art form advance, progress, and expand, I'm very excited about what's going on. And I want to tell you a little of my personal thought process, and I want to ask the two of you where you weigh in on this. So I believe this about the future of pro wrestling, and it's already begun, I think, that the audience is diverging in two ways. There is an audience that wants wrestling to be as real as possible, legitimate combat. They want the grappling. And that type of wrestling to me is MMA. That's UFC is as probably about as legitimate as it's going to get. These are people really fighting one another. And there's an audience that wants their wrestling to head that direction. They like that aesthetic. They want it to adapt more sensibilities from UFC and MMA. And maybe they want to indulge in reality shows, like The Ultimate Fighter, or even I kind of think in a weird way what they're flirting with on the Total Divas show. They want it to be more real. But the other side of this divergence are those people that understand that wrestling inhabits a fictional space that very few others do. And you could probably limit it to the Harlem Globetrotters, Cirque du Soleil, and maybe monster truck rallies, where we're in a fictional space and we can go as crazy with this fiction as possible. We're no longer encumbered like we were in the mid-1980s by the whole, is it fake? No, we'll fool you into thinking it's real. We're so past that in 2014. We could celebrate the fact that we're in a fictional show space and go as far out there as our audience will allow us to go. And luckily at Chikara, they give us plenty of slack. And I think there's going to be more of that coming in the future, the divergence. They're going to be the people that want their wrestling as real as it can possibly be, and they're going to be those that want it to explore the fictional space. And I'm curious where you two think things are going.
I think you're right on that. I mean, it's definitely going in two separate directions. I've always said this with the MMA style stuff that's already out there. MMA is already in existence. So if we try and flirt too much with that in wrestling, are we downgrading what we're doing? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it always freaks me out if we go too far into the vein of MMA, because I know why I started liking wrestling, and it certainly had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. It certainly had nothing to do with mixed martial arts. It didn't have anything to do with that kind of stuff. It had to do with characters. And so I think that for me, if wrestling wants to grow, it's going to have to go back to what it used to be, and that's entertainment. And that's characters like, like Daniel Bryan, even though he does, that style of wrestling, he still is a character. People like him because of his beard, and because he looks like a goat, and because they might like his style of wrestling, but I think it has more to do with his style of character. So that's my take on it. I appreciate the MMA style of wrestling, but I don't necessarily think that's where the money is.
See, I don't know where it's going, but I can tell you where I hope it goes. And my hope is that it goes way to the other end of fiction and characters and story, because at the end of the day, we are still professional wrestling. And like you said, the days of trying to convince everyone that this is real and that really hurts and this and that, they're gone. Basically, when they turn on pro wrestling, it's like they're turning on the Walking Dead. They know that there's not really zombies and that these people's lives aren't really in danger. But what they're seeing, they can sit there and enjoy the fiction for what it is. And for me, if we go too far in the MMA direction, we are just doing fake, phony MMA. Because if you want to watch MMA, you can put on the UFC, you can put on Strikeforce, you can watch boxing, and these guys are really going to hit each other and do the stuff that we really can't do, because at the end of the day, we are still fiction. We are still fake wrestling, if that makes any sense. I hate the term fake, but that's just if we go in that direction, all we're going to do is do really bad, fake, phony MMA. What we have the ability to – the difference I don't know who told me this one time, but the difference between what we do and what UFC does is we can determine how the finish of a fight happens. And we can determine that by touring with the people's emotions. Like if Brock Lesnar's fighting in the UFC against I don't know whoever is I don't even know a lot of UFC guys, but the problem with that is it might be really good for business that Brock Lesnar wins because he's a big dude, he's got a name to him, and he's cocky. And it might be really good if they get the title on him so he can have a nice long reign, and then the up and coming underdog can beat him. But they can't do that because Brock Lesnar might be the best UFC fighter ever, and nobody can beat him. And so you're just going to get Brock Lesnar main eventing every UFC show. But on the other hand, if Brock Lesnar is in WWE, what they can do is they can say, we're going to make Brock Lesnar the stud who beats everybody. And then at WrestleMania, the 185-pound underdog, Daniel Bryan, who in a real fight would probably get destroyed by Brock Lesnar, you know what? Somehow he's going to beat him, and all the underdogs in the world and watching live are going to be able to celebrate. And that's what we can do. We can say, we can suspend your disbelief and say this 175-pound guy with a giant beard just defeated this absolute beast of a human being. And that, to me, is the difference between us and UFC. And I hope and pray that it goes in the direction of fiction and taking people on this ride of just entertainment. And I love it. It's always going to have the athleticism, but it needs to be that suspend your disbelief storytelling, like it is a TV show.
Yeah, and I also I miss characters like I miss Macho Man Randy Savage. I miss the Hardy Boys. I miss Roddy Piper. I miss those kind of fun people to watch. I miss those characters, and I hope that they come back. And I miss Kamala. I mean, what
direction do you think it's going in, Mike?
Well, I do think it's going to split, and I think the audience will, maybe not evenly in half. I don't think it's going to be 50-50, but right. I think that's how they're going to diverge. And there needs to be something that speaks to both, right? I mean, the people that want MMA, there should be no shortage of things for them to watch, and likewise for the other fan base, there should be no shortage. I want to say something that you just touched on that I really believe about characters in wrestling. And Mike, what you were saying I think is correct. UFC, they are fighters and we are storytellers. It is not the same discipline. It's not that they're real and we're predetermined or anything like that. In my mind, the difference is they're fighters and we're storytellers. I think there is right now, I heard you guys talking a little bit about the Performance Center on one of your other episodes that I listened to about how, it's kind of like an assembly line, I think is how you put it.
Right.
And there is only so many of these types of characters that you ever want to see. I'm cool, I'm flawless, and I'm tough.
Right.
I can maybe have two of those guys, but a company full of them,
Right.
where's my entry point? How do I relate to you? If everybody on your roster is, I look awesome, I'm super cool, I'm flawless, come on. And that speaks a little bit to what you were saying, the two of you in your discussion last week about Daniel Bryan and why he catches on the way that he does. It's those two things, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Maria. It's a story that resonates and the vessel that embodies the story. And that's what's interesting about Daniel Bryan, or to put it into other terms, that's also why Spider-Man works in every culture.
Yes.
He's the most licensed superhero of them all, even more than Batman, because that guy could literally be anybody. He's covered head to toe. He could be a white guy, a black guy. He could be a dude. He has been a chick sometimes. There's been Spider-Girl. Spider-Man is infinitely relatable to anybody because you can put yourself into his shoes in the same way that people do that with an underdog story, right? In everybody's personal narrative, they're an underdog in some way. Maybe it's in their workplace, or it's on a sports team that they play for, or in their family setting, or whatever. Everyone knows what that feeling is like when you're the underdog, and the odds are stacked against you, but you know what? Somehow we're going to go out there and make it work. That's a compelling story that resonates with people. But if you choose the wrong vessel for your story, like if they told an underdog story and the underdog is Cena or Batista, it's not going to work. They aren't the right vessel for that story. And that's part of what makes Spider-Man so relatable is that you could imagine yourself to be him. He's got very real problems, right? He's, I need this money from the Daily Bugle. Am I going to spend it on Aunt May's medicine or buy more web fluid for my web shooters? He has very real, relatable problems, and you're just drawn into his narrative. And I think right now that's how people feel about Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
They're very much drawn into his narrative, whether it's real or it's been perfectly contrived by their creative team. I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. I have no clue what's really going on. I know just as much as anybody else that casually watches it on TV. But that's really what it comes down to. Can you tell a story that resonates with people, and have you chosen a vessel that really works? Like we said, I don't buy Cena in an underdog story. That's not his role. But luckily it is Daniel's.
Yeah,
And I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think if you go back 10, 12 years ago, that's why Stone Cold Steve Austin worked. He was that right guy. Everyone could really get behind I want to flip my boss off and tell them how I really feel. And I'm this beer-swilling, foul-mouthed badass who just does what he feels like. And like you said, that character, you couldn't have done it with The Rock. That character had to be done with Stone Cold. And I think that's why it works so well for him, too.
And I think that's the sad part about the Performance Center is that there are guys that can be a great character just because they've had a character's life, because they're already living it. They're already inside and embodying whatever that story is. So sometimes when you just slap a label on something and say, oh, well, this is what you're going to be, it doesn't work because it has to come from real emotions. And I've had this conversation with Mike before. Sometimes the greatest characters in the world or the greatest comedians in the world have had the worst history, the worst past. They had to live their life and go through some horrible shit in order for that to come out, in order for that to be believable. And, I think that those guys are out there for both sides of the coin, whether it be going more towards fighter or whether it be going towards more character. I feel like those guys are out there on the independents, and that's why sometimes I get more excited going to an independent wrestling show or going to a Ring of Honor show. Actually, I always get more excited going to these shows because I feel like there's guys out there that are actually living that character, being that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. I think about some of the guys that really grabbed my attention. In the neighborhood where I grew up, there were a lot of kids that were into wrestling at a much younger age than I was. And I would occasionally watch and I just thought, this is dumb. I don't get this. It really turned me off. And one day I happened to hear Jake the Snake Roberts speaking. And I felt like he was not talking to Mean Gene Okerlund or some off-screen opponent of his. It was like he was talking to me. And he was talking about things like trust and fear. He wasn't talking about, this wrestling move or that type of thing. And much of that, I think, really probably came from the fact that he had a horrific life.
Right.
Jake the Snake Roberts he went through some incredible darkness in his life, and that came out. But because it was his authentic voice, it resonated with you. And you know the difference because you can hire only people that fit an exact body type. But that does not mean that those same people that fit your requirement for body type are going to be good storytellers, that they're going to be able to adapt to the character that you want to assign to them, or they're going to be able to bring out an authentic voice that resonates with people. And that's a lot of, when I hear people talking about, I don't really engage or I'm disconnected, to me that's what it is. When you heard Macho Man Randy Savage talk, you knew if I ran into him at the airport, he'd be the exact same way.
Right.
That's how Randy Savage is at the gas station. That's how Randy Savage is at the Sizzler.
Fill up my
That's
tank.
his authentic voice.
Well, what is in store for the future of Chikara?
Well, we're coming out of what's been maybe the most complex story that we've ever told. And for 8 months, the company was dark. It appeared to have disappeared after the Teeter conglomerate and the people in charge of it shut the organization down. And what happened during that dark period is this, that the entire Chikara roster, they were scattered into these other smaller promotions like Wrestling is Cool, Wrestling is Heart, Wrestling is Intense, and all of these other ones, which represent different aspects of what makes up the Chikara universe, and also very neatly spells that out in an anagram. They went there. But while Chikara was gone from the stage, a group of villains began to emerge, groups that we'd defeated in the past, that we'd vanquished, and they were more organized than ever before. And they went around, essentially, thinking of these satellite companies like they were the last lifeboats from Chikara, and they began to sink them. And then what you saw at National Pro Wrestling Day was all of them came together on stage all at once, which led to, before the arrival of the DeLorean anyway, a crazy 60-man war that happened in the middle of the Palmer Center. Because these types of groups, they're almost like the Legion of Doom, I guess you could think of them. This indomitable villain group is exactly the kind of thing that Chikara comes together to combat. And it's exactly what brought us back, led by the least likely character of all, the most despised Rudo in the last 10 years of Chikara, Icarus, throughout his story of redemption, reunited the team and brought them back together to fight off this indomitable villain force. And that's exactly what's upcoming in Season 14. I'm really excited to get on telling this next part of the story. I think our fans are going to be really, really excited. And it's just the emotion in the room as that was all happening. And it really did climax with the arrival of the DeLorean. If that emotion is any indication of what we're on to, and what we're able to continue to create for our audience, I couldn't be more excited. And that's what it comes down to, like we said. It's about the stories that hook you, right? I did this exercise with some of my guys. I asked them, what's the moment that you remember with the greatest clarity from the early days of your wrestling fandom? And I'm curious to know, if you think back to when you knew that you were falling in love with this art form, what is that thing that captured your imagination? Can you remember it?
I know. I mean, the moment I always remember vividly in wrestling was when Mick Foley won the title for the first time. That is always, because first of all, I was there live, and it was because no one expected him to do it, and he was beating off the corporation of Vince McMahon and The Rock and Big Boss Man, and Stone Cold came out and helped him win it, and it was just this perfect storm of events that all came in at once that I had never seen a crowd react like it did to that. And that was the moment when I remember I looked at my dad, who was with me half asleep, and I said to him, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And he said, okay, all right, sure. Yeah, very vividly I remember it.
I went to a show in Rockford, and before we got into the event, I flashed the Hardy Boys. And then from there, we walked inside, and our seats, for some reason, we couldn't sit in our seats. So we had to sit on the floor, which was not a bad thing at all. We were right next to the entryway, and Stone Cold Steve Austin walked right on by us. But when he came back through, me, 19 years old, he gave me part of his beer. And I remember thinking, like, this is the coolest thing ever. I mean, before that, I had watched the shows, but to be there live and in person, and I remember Tajiri and Tori Wilson were still teaming up at the time, and just watching her walk out to that ring, there was just some kind of power that was coming from her, and I had seen Lita coming out with her thong, and that music would hit, and it just, and I think that because I grew up in a household that was the man is the king of the castle and the woman is just the takes care of the house and vacuums or does the dishes. Seeing these powerful women and seeing them fight, it meant something to me. Definitely Lita and definitely Trish, but they gave me a power that I think was just amazing, and knowing that I could be a strong female. So that did it for me. There was just time and time again of watching that. But yeah, definitely. You remember those things for sure.
Right. Something, inevitably captures your imagination, like those things that you just described. And I think that's what we always have to be working for. I feel like, how can we get to the next moment that might mean that to somebody else? That, like you said, a moment of great empowerment, or the sense of triumph that you must have felt, Mike, watching Mick Foley in the midst of that perfect storm. Like, how can we deliver those moments, whether is it uplifting, is it empowering, that's got a little bit of that wrestling magic that really does not come from any other kind of performance art but pro wrestling? And how can I give that to my customers? Because that's the experience that they're paying for at the end of the day. And yes, do they want to go on an emotional journey with you? Do they need closure at times and all that type of stuff? Absolutely. If you ignore that, you're not doing your job as a storyteller. But ultimately, I think the experience that the people that come to Chikara want, because that's my consumer base, and I feel like that's the group of fans I understand best of all. They want that brief moment of euphoria, that rare thing. And Mike, you were in the midst of it. You were in the midst of it in the finals of King of Trios.
Absolutely.
And when that happened, when that all went down, it actually begins with, unfortunately for you, Maria, being kicked in the face, and ends with Mike tapping out. In that moment, and I was watching from behind the curtain at that moment, to see strangers hugging each other, their faces wet with tears of joy, that is something very real that we gave to those people. And it took, the work of how many performers and how much support staff and everybody else so that we could give that to them. And we always have to be working toward the next one of those. How do we get to the next one of those kind of moments so that someone watching can, whether they can verbalize it or not, can feel empowered? They can feel a sense of euphoria. They feel uplifted. They feel triumphant, whatever that thing might be. That's the ultimate expression of our art form, and I think we're always chasing the next one, and we have to be. If we're really responsible to our customers and we're really respecting what it is they're paying for, that's what we're working for.
Definitely. Yeah. And if people want to go to your show, your next one is on Sunday, May 25th, and it's in Easton, Pennsylvania. So that's the next time. Kids under 12 get in for free. And if they want to donate to against malaria, they can go to nationalprowrestlingday.com. Still, you guys are still taking donations there. Where can people check you out? I'm sorry, but I have to go to school tomorrow, so I can't be too long on tonight. I probably could talk to you for like the next
we could probably do this for the next week or so.
Yeah,
I could discuss wrestling.
But
well, thank you for that. And believe me, I would ramble until every last listener of yours has fallen asleep. But
I would listen.
We'll agree on this. I love talking about storytelling and characters in professional wrestling. And somewhere down the line, let us get our heads back together again
and we will pick up this conversation. But until then, please check us out online. Right now, Chikara Pro on Twitter is where the information is coming fast and furious about what the future and Season 14 holds. And there's a bunch of really great stuff that's just around the corner. If for any reason you're interested just to follow me, I'm at Mike Quackenbush, and I make some podcasts with Clayton Morris from Fox and Friends. You can catch me over on the Grizzly Bear Egg Cafe. There we tend to talk nerd culture a lot. And I also make a podcast called The Trending Show, where I run down the top trending topics in internet searches every single week. And you can find both of those in the iTunes store. I'd love it if you'd subscribe.
Fantastic.
That's
thank you so
wonderful.
much.
Mike, thank you.
And definitely we'll talk again in the future.
Thank you both very much. It was a real pleasure.
Pleasure was all ours. Thank you.
Oh, he's such a breath of fresh air, isn't he? He makes me like
yes.
super happy and like feeling positive and
In
just
such a bitter, sometimes extremely dark business that we are in. He makes every show I've ever done for him, it's a constant reminder of why I still wrestle. Because for every 10 shows that I do where I leave carrying my bag down the hallway going, why am I still doing this? I have to do one Quack show, and I am like, yep, that's why.
That's why we do
this
it.
is why I do it. That moment, like he was talking about in the King of Trios, when I tapped out, I may have lost, but that moment right before I tapped out, when I could literally feel these people, these 500 fans in Easton, Pennsylvania, I literally felt like I controlled their lives, and not in a negative aspect, but in a very positive aspect. I felt like I controlled their lives in the palm of my hand. They were hanging on every movement my hand was making to see if I was going to tap out to Hello Wicked in the Chikara special. And it was, it's up there. It might be my favorite moment in wrestling ever, because I literally felt like I controlled their lives. And when I tapped out,
you could feel them holding their breath.
I felt like I had their breath.
But I'm assuming
you were kicked.
I was knocked out. So, but I'm assuming that everybody in that room was holding their breath.
That's what
that
it felt
everybody was sitting on the edge of the seat, if not standing at that point.
Yeah.
It was so intense and so wonderful. And it was after 3 grueling days of wrestling, and every single match was amazing and told a different story with different people. I mean,
it literally felt.
Who all did you wrestle that weekend at the King of Trios weekend?
Well, it was me and the Young Bucks teamed up, and we wrestled the Powers of Pain, which was Warlord, Barbarian, and Meng. And then we wrestled Team ECW, which was the I'm going to put him over. The absolutely incredible, amazing Tommy Dreamer
with his jump off the top rope, with
his dive of doom spot and his remote control. It was Tommy Dreamer.
I've never seen a remote control work like that before. That was the most impressive
amazing.
Remote control
I'm not
ever.
going to tell anyone. If you want to know what we're talking about, you can still order the King of Trios. Go find it online. And it was 2013 King of Trios. Yes.
Yes.
Go find it online. No, it was 2012 King of Trios. 2012 King of Trios. So go find it online.
It was that long ago. I've been with you for that long.
Yeah,
Holy
I'm sorry.
Cow.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, I know. Are you ready to leave me? Are you ready to
No.
So it was Team ECW, Tommy Dreamer, Jerry Lynn, and Two Cold Scorpio. And then from there, we went on and wrestled the Sendai Girls, who were amazing. And then from there, we wrestled the Spectral Envoy, I believe. If I'm butchering that name, I apologize, but I believe and it was Hallow Wicked and Frightmare and who am I missing? Someone tweet me and tell me who I'm missing. I've been hitting the head too many times. So that, and literally it was that match was one of my favorites ever. There's not enough evers. So yeah, and like you said, Mike Quackenbush is just. He makes me love pro wrestling, and his mindset for it is everything that I love. Really everything I love.
He's incredible. You know what else I love right now?
What?
Is that on WWE.com, they have an article about Ring of Honor. Did you know this?
I saw that. It's actually a really good article. They interview Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan and Gabe and Colt Cabana. So it's an amazing article.
It is, and it's titled "How One Small Company Impacted WWE." They should say "still impacts WWE" because there's so much talent moving up the ranks right now and just doing an incredible job at Ring of Honor. And that it's just there's going to be more and more guys that are going in that direction, and I'm hoping that you'll be going in that direction as well.
We shall see. You never say never. I am happy with the company that is influencing WWE right now, and I truly believe that it's like I believe there's always these points where these little revolutionary companies influence the big bad corporations, and I think at one point it was ECW, and they did that, and that's why the Attitude Era happened. And now I believe that it's Ring of Honor, and you can see that in guys like in Punk and Bryan and The Shield and Antonio Cesaro and guys like that, and not to mention Sami Zayn down in NXT, and Sami Callahan's down there and Samurai del Sol. So it's Ring of Honor, yes, but I believe beyond Ring of Honor, it's independent wrestling as a whole.
Yes, and I think those are the guys that get on top and stay on top.
Yes, absolutely. And if you look at like the guys with the exception,
Fandango.
Yes, but even before that, if you look at guys besides maybe say Cena, but it's hard not to say Cena because Cena was on the indies for a hot minute before he went to.
And he also trained at Ohio Valley Wrestling with some of the greatest trainers out there.
But if you look at the top guys before that, it was guys who had been cutting their teeth forever. And it was guys who were now hitting their 30s, the Stone Cold Steve Austins and the Chris Jerichos and the Triple H's and the Shawn Michaels. And these were the guys that were on top and stayed on top. And you have those rare occasions like the Rocks and the Kurt Angles who were guys. But the Rock was a third-generation wrestler. So, wrestling
and he was starving before he was making money.
And wrestling has to be in your blood. I'm sorry, but it has to be in your blood for you to be a star and stay on top. It just has to be. And if it's not, then you won't last. And you see that with guys who come and go. And that's why guys don't last on top or don't last in the company. It has to be in your blood, despite what they say.
Everybody loves AJ. And, one of the things that, not a lot of people know is that she was trained by Jay Lethal, and she was on the indies before she ever made it into WWE. So, it's in her blood as well. It's in Natty Neidhart's blood. It's just, it has to be there for sure. And Ring of Honor has a show this weekend in San Antonio at the Shrine Auditorium.
Ultramantis was thank you, David Step, for tweeting. Ultramantis, the ruler of the universe, was the third guy in the Spectral Envoy. So just getting that out there. I had to. I need to respect my fellow.
I thought maybe that was our safe word or something.
No. Foliage is our safe word. You know that. I'm making that up. I just made you completely silent. You had nothing to say. You were so stunned. You're like, it is?
You had one. It was like right on cue. It wasn't even a question in your head. It was foliage. That's it. Is that from like a movie or something?
I don't know. I think it's from The Office or something like that. I think I stole it from
you stole
Michael Scott. You're like, that's not our safe word. I thought mac and cheese was our safe word. What are you talking about?
Ice cream. Come on, ice cream.
Come on, ice cream. What?
What? Okay, so State of the Art is the name of the show this weekend, and it's the Real World Championship against, Jay Briscoe versus... What? Come on. Come on.
Say.
Come on. I just came from Spanish class. You're lucky I'm not speaking. I had a test, and it went pretty good, but it could have gone better. So there. Me and Spanish, we don't mix. So Jay Briscoe versus Adam Cole. Mike and I will be there, and RBR's own Paul Griffin, which he also was our logo designer, if anybody wants to know, will be in the audience as well. And you can find RBR Weekly Wrestling Talk Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern at fanoff.com/thesoundoff.
Whoa. /
Oh, and I have secret information. Did you know this?
I got a secret
information for the RBR fans listening. Matt Galloway is returning to the show this week. It's exclusive.
Whoa. This week.
Dude. Yeah.
Not last week.
Yeah.
Not next week.
Yeah.
This motherfucking week.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I can say that because it's my podcast.
It's my podcast, and I'll curse if I want to curse. I'm dancing. I am dancing in bed by myself as I'm singing to you. Weird. So, I also have some other exclusive information. If anybody wants to find our T-shirts for our podcast, or maybe you want to buy a Maria Kanellis T-shirt, you can go to ProWrestlingTees.com. With over 800 T-shirts available from indie stars to WWE legends, you can now buy T-shirts created and sold by your favorite professional wrestlers like myself at ProWrestlingTees.com. If you're looking for something a little more fun, be sure to check out BarbershopWindow.com for some of the greatest nostalgic and humorous wrestling tees available on the internet. That's at ProWrestlingTees.com. Do you see how much better I'm at these things now? I'm getting better at them. I am
highly impressed.
Yeah, ProWrestlingTees.com is amazing. They always do new T-shirts, and right now they have our podcast with our fancy dancy logo made by Paul Griffin on it on ProWrestlingTees.com. Did I say it enough times? I think I did. You have a sponsorship now.
I do. Believe it or not, my working out and pretending that I am an athlete has actually paid off, and I would have liked to announce that I am in partnership now with SPV High Quality Supplements. They have really great stuff. They ship me this stuff, and I use it myself, and that's why I look the way I do. No, but really, they have really amazing stuff.
That's so pretentious.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it, because I'm a douche. I am a douche.
Why would you say that? Wow.
It's funny. Come on.
Wow, that's
You
really
laugh.
just yucky.
Now
Yucky.
I'm gonna get
Yucky.
so much trolling's gonna happen on my Twitter now. Good Lord. But no, in all seriousness.
How hot you are. You're
In
so
all seriousness, I didn't
Oh my
interrupt
God.
you during your plugs. So
You're just so hot.
let me know when you're done.
You usually know when I'm done.
Wow. Yes.
No?
I have no words.
I got
no
you.
words.
I got
There
you
it
this
is.
time.
I
I
was-
got you. I got
I'm
you.
silent.
I got you. I
I'm
got
silent. Okay,
We
so as
were-
I was saying,
Okay, continue.
SPV high quality supplements, offering great tasting and
Ooh,
effective.
ooh, you know what I just
Oh my
got?
goodness! I am trying to.
You know what I just got? I got the moment of silence.
Okay, but I have to finish, and you keep interrupting.
I know, but I'll let you finish in a moment.
I
So,
don't know.
moment-
I'm going to finish this. You can do
Okay.
your moment of silence or your moment of laughter, whatever you want to call it. You can do it after I am finished with this. I let you get through everything you wanted to say, and I say one word, and you go, "Oh, I got something now." Oh no, I got something. Oh, screw you! You can't say anything you want. I got something.
Am I from the Muppets? I think that apparently I'm from the Muppets.
Apparently.
And what character would I be?
Animal.
Animal. Okay, good. What do you have to say now?
Okay, so as I was saying, the one thing I'm super excited about, and I can't even talk about it. So I am, now you're just being. So
Okay, I'm
you
done.
go. No, go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead, do whatever you want. I'll just sit here and, you can do all your plugs, and then when it's time for me to do my plugs, you can just be very rude. Go ahead, you talk.
No, I'm good. ahead. You go.
No, I don't know what to say now. No, because I'll talk and it'll just get interrupted.
Okay, so the moment of silence goes to Mike losing his humbleness. Okay, that's it.
Can I start now? Can I go? Can I finish?
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're
Okay,
good.
as I was saying, I am very excited to be teaming up with SBV high quality supplements. They are very like organic type protein and stuff like that. They have very effective products without fillers, chemicals, or GMOs. And for now, you can go to sbvfitness.com/store. And if you use the code word Prodigy, that's PRODIGY, you can get 15% off your products. So there. And now I know you are just dying to say something because you had to be quiet while I did that. So carry on.
No, that's it. I have nothing else.
It's now become just the Maria in Wonderland podcasts. And I'll just...
But I love you.
Yeah.
But I'm sticking my lip out because I love you. I do.
Yep.
But I do, and next week I'd really like to talk politics.
I can't wait till you have something you want to talk about next week, and I am just going to be nonstop talking.
But I'm doing the crab dance. Crab.
Mm-hmm. You have crab dance?
No, I do not. There is no crabs. I am so fresh and so clean. Thank you.
You are welcome. You want to talk politics next week or this week? We never get to, or we get carried away with our amazing guests, so we never do get to talk politics.
I don't want to talk politics. I want to talk unpolitics.
Unpolitics. Oh, I have something that I really want to get off my chest before I feel as though we're wrapping this podcast up, but I need to get something off my chest.
Okay.
Have to, because it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And as a lot of people know, the Super Bowl was last weekend, and our wonderful producer, his team got absolutely crushed. That's not what I need to get off my chest, even though it's pretty funny that Peyton Manning completely crapped down his leg. But what I want to talk about is the Coca-Cola commercial during the Super Bowl and the fact that there is a giant uproar about it. Have you seen this, sweetie?
No, I haven't.
You really haven't? Did you see the
No.
Coca-Cola commercial?
I think I fell asleep. I'm sorry.
Oh, where it was, look it up. It was the Coca-Cola did a very touching and awesome, amazing commercial with showing their product and then showing people across the country, and it was set to the song of God Bless America. And during it started out in English, and as the song progressed, it
Oh my
switched
God! Yes, I loved
from language to language to language to language, and it showed a homosexual couple with their little baby, and it was just the most amazing commercial I've ever seen. And of course, the stupid people in our stupid country have decided that, oh, well, if you're going to sing God Bless America, you got to speak American. First of all, the language you speak is not American, you fucking morons. And second of all, we are all fucking immigrants. We all fucking came here and pillaged the fucking people that were here before us. We are all immigrants, you dumb. I'm so angry. So for you to sit there and say that
we need like a rampage, like Mike's rampage. I'm gonna get on that. Our producer, we need like an alarm, like rampage alarm, like Mike Page. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm sorry, but this country is built off of people being fucking different. And if you're not for that, then you fucking idiots are the one who need to be deported, not the people who come over here and work their asses off. And just because they speak a different language, you're going to say that they need to be deported. You know what? Fuck off. You people need to be deported.
But here's the thing. When everybody immigrated to this, became immigrants into this country, whatever, they did not all speak English. Like, people that came over did not all speak English.
And why the does it matter?
And a lot of the people that were in this country spoke Spanish. A lot of people that were in this country were Indians before us. So why not be inclusive of everybody? Why not be accepting? I find it kind of ironic because everybody used to say America's a melting pot. What does that mean exactly? You have to be white, own a gun, and you're Catholic? Like what?
No.
What is that? Is that the melting pot? You have your gun and you're white and you're this? Is that the melting pot? I don't. I think the melting pot or this country is built on everyone. The reason why we left England or wherever people left was from oppression. Some people were brought here against their will, which is horrible, but there were people that came over here that were trying to leave oppression.
The ideology of what this country used to stand for and what the country stands for now is so ass backwards, it's not even funny. It used to be the land of opportunity. The land of opportunity. Why? Because you got opportunities to come here and make your life better. And that didn't mean you came here and spoke English all of a sudden. No, you came here and made your life better. What makes America great is that we are free, and that by being free, that means we have the freedom to speak whatever fucking language we want to speak. It's the same morons that say, when I call a company, I shouldn't have to press 1 for English. Why? Because your fat fucking obese fingers can't press 1? You stupid piece of shit. God, I hate this country so much sometimes.
Oh my! Okay, take a deep breath.
Oh, God.
Start at 10 and count down, please.
Oof.
10, 9, 8.
Oof.
I spoke
right.
Spanish tonight. That was
Good job.
And I'm trying to get better at it.
I think it should be a requirement.
I think it should be a requirement too. Every other country in this world that is developed has to speak 2 languages. You go to Japan, they know how to speak English. They speak Japanese as their first language. They speak English as well. And they're so polite over in Japan. They don't want to necessarily speak English to you because they're afraid that they're going to mess up our language. But they're trying!
And they wonder why we're last in education and last in this and last in that. Like, it amazes me. It's because of comments.
I think I figured it out, actually.
It's people like that saying, you need to speak American. Shut up. Go eat more of your chicken wings and watch the Super Bowl.
I think that the reason why we are last is because because our educational system is funded by the state funding. It's by income tax. It's not a nationally funded thing, and it should be. Most other countries, it's nationally funded. That's why upward mobility is so much easier in other developed countries. Right. Here, it's so much more complicated because if you live in a poor community, you're screwed. And that's what my Spanish teacher was preaching about tonight was the fact that, we just our Chicago educational system right now is just in shambles, and kids are not even learning how to read at this point. Like, it is sad and it is hard. And yeah, okay. What
I should stop talking because I'll get myself in trouble.
You're not going to get yourself in trouble. Remember, this is our podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is my podcast, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's your podcast.
This is how shit's going down tonight.
It is, and I think that by maybe by 10 episodes in, we should just have like the best of Mike Bennett rants. Okay, cool. I think we should have that.
Cool beans. I like that.
Do I need to call you Michael on the podcast too? Do I need to do that?
Whatever you want. Call me Mike, Michael, Mikey, Miguel.
Can I call you Mr. Monkey Mumbles? That's all I want to know.
Sure. You can call me a monkey. You can call me Jesus.
Why am I calling you Jesus? Why? And why do you sound like you're sipping water through a straw? You're like,
I'm swimming.
Cold? Are you swimming?
I'm swimming. I decided to take a quick dip. halfway through the podcast.
Well, I think we should get off of here because tomorrow I have a quiz in global environment, so I can hear more about why the Earth is crumbling, and it's terrible. Terrible. I think I went to school so that I could be afraid, actually. Because there's so many scary things out there. But, you know what wasn't scary?
What?
Mike Quackenbush. He is awesome.
Oh, he was amazing.
So if
I
anybody
love him.
wants to follow him, you could follow him on Twitter. You could also go to chikarapro.com. If you want to buy tickets or whatever, you can follow me on Maria L. Kanellis on Twitter. I almost gave away my Gmail account. Ew.
Whoa.
I know, dude. If you want to go to my Facebook page, that is Official Maria Kanellis. If you want to go to our Facebook podcast page, it's Mike and Maria Podcast. If you want to catch up on past episodes, you can go to mikeandmariapodcast.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that is Maria Kanellis. Is there anything else?
I don't know. You have any more social?
And please,
Poopy.
everybody.
Oh, I thought you said poopy.
No, nobody needs a poopy right now.
Poopy paper.
If you like our show, please tell us about it because I'd like to know what you're thinking. Go to the review part on the iTunes, and tell us your thoughts. Rate us. Tell us if you think we're good or tell us if you think we suck. But please don't rate us on there because that will make our ratings go down and I don't want that to happen. But if you want to, complain or something like that, there's also a forum, which is under the communities part of fanoff.com. So click on the community and there we go.
Yeah, if you think we're poopy paper, tell us.
Poopy paper.
It's late. I'm sleepy. Sorry. Everything's funny to me right now.
You get to sleep in. I have to wake up early. Where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Real Mike Bennett, and you can follow me at The Real Mike. That's Twitter. At Real Mike Bennett on Twitter, at The Real Mike Bennett on Instagram, then become my very close personal friend on Facebook. Just look up Mike Bennett Facebook, and you will find me, and I am there. And also, Ring of Honor this weekend in San Antonio. I will be wrestling Mr. Redneck Kung Fu himself, Mark Briscoe. Also, Adam Cole versus Jay Briscoe, and a four-way match between Jay Lethal, Kevin Steed, Michael Elgin, and Tommaso Spicy Ciampa. So do not miss it if you're in the area. It's going to be an awesome show. And check out ROHWrestling.com and watch me on TV. If you're a Ringside member, check it out now. But for everyone who's not, listen
Can they watch me too?
Watch on Thursday, and you can
what about
see me wrestle Cedric and Maria cut an epic promo. See, I was going to put you over and say it, but then again, you don't let me finish any of my plugs. So
I'm going to go to bed now, okay? See you guys next week. Catch us same time, same place, same show. And yeah, see you later.
Peace.
Off with my head, I fell in love again. Off with my head, fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart. Off with my head, I fell in love again. Off with my head, I fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart. Fall apart. Fall apart.
This has been a production of fanoff.com.
And that's perfect.